Today I'm speaking to former Arsenal and Brentford footballer Isaiah Rankin. Me and Isaiah linked up years and years ago, so going back to probably 2003, 4-ish, when I was in the process of signing for Bournemouth, and he was kind of looking at changing clubs and things as well. So that was probably the last time we've seen each other and spoke. So appreciate you coming on. You haven't really changed much. You look exactly the same. Obviously, you've got a lot older and stuff like that. So time's moved on, and I just wanted to catch up with you. So I really appreciate you coming on. How's life? Let me know kind of what you're doing and how's things on a day-to-day for you.
Life's good. Thanks for having me. So at the moment, I'm involved in a football college program where we deal with kids from 16 to 19. So where they go to school, continue their education, but alongside it, they come and train and play in national competitions on a Wednesday, and hopefully try and get some boys that have fallen out of academies back into football.
That's really good, really interesting. Obviously, we know that's a massive topic kind of nowadays, especially the last couple of years, where you hear kind of players who have come out of the game, whether it be kind of towards the back end of their career for whatever reason, whether it be retirement or injury, or if it's kind of the younger ones who have kind of fallen out of the academy system and they're kind of at a crossroads whether to continue or kind of pursue something else. So it's a really hot topic, and obviously something that is obviously needed going forward, and especially coming from someone like yourself who's got a wealth of knowledge within the game. You've obviously played the game, so straight away you've got that bit of credibility. What kind of led you down that route?
At first, I didn't want to go into coaching. I wanted a clean break from it. And when I stopped playing, I just wanted to come away from it. But something kept on drawing me back. I wanted to give back. I wanted to help the next generation of kids or players or who needed help and guidance. And I thought about it, and so that's what I did.
That's amazing. And along the way, have you kind of reached out to anyone, any organisations or anything for help or kind of some type of guidance going forward, or are you just kind of going it alone?
Well, you know, when you finish playing, the phone stops ringing. So, you know, you go to your friends, your family, players that you still keep in contact with, PFA for help, and if there's any courses that you can do. Spoke to Jason Lee and a few others, and just go down that route, and they give you good advice, and it's up to you really. All the resources are there. It's up to you which way you want to go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one of those things, again, touching on kind of what you said earlier. It's about kind of, the resources are there. It's about you kind of reaching out. We all know when you stop playing the phone, like you said, it stops ringing. And if you haven't got that in you to kind of pick up the phone and make those connections yourself and reach out to people just to get advice or whatever it may be, then you're just going to be waiting there for a long time. It's slightly different if you've got a more of a higher profile, because people are kind of aware of you, your household name or whatever. And you kind of, with a higher profile comes more perks and more kind of opportunities for companies to then capitalize on that. So it's about making people aware, whether it be kind of young or old athletes, that they need to obviously go out there and try and do these things for themselves. And obviously, there's going to be help along the way. Everyone needs help. It's about making that first step initially. And it's not necessarily easy because everyone's different. Sometimes people have got that ego where they've kind of been in that football bubble for so many years, or whether it be whatever chosen sport you're in, you tend to fall into that bubble where everything's kind of done for you or whatever, and you kind of looked after it to a certain degree. So to come away from that, it can be quite difficult for some people sometimes. Talk to me about your actual transition away from sport now. So you've kind of decided to retire for whatever reason. Let us know what it was, and then obviously your process with regards to retirement and transition.
So basically, I knew it was coming to an end. Your body can't do the same things as you could before. I was playing non-league at the time, still enjoying it, but it was getting harder and harder, more injuries. So it was hard. I'd moved back to London at the time, and I was started coaching, but then I stopped completely. Then I was looking at doing all different things. So I was stuck maybe for a year or two, where I didn't know what I wanted to do, whether it was the right choice, because you've got people that relying on you, your family, you've got your kids. Found it hard. I think when I speak to most footballers that retire, majority don't have a plan. They think it's going to continue. The ones that have a plan, well done. And it was hard. It was hard. There's no shame. Getting help, talking to friends and family, and they helped you along the way. And then I'm just grateful that I had good people around me that helped me and believed in me and kept me going, believing to go into another career.
And I think sometimes there's kind of athletes, and also from the outside looking in, that kind of people don't realize how important it is to have that kind of body of network of people that can assist you, not necessarily kind of financially or whatever, but just to reach out and say, like, are you okay? How are you getting on? And maybe put you in touch with other people. So all of those things are massive. It may seem kind of minuscule initially, but along the way, that first step, and then before you know it, you're taking your third and fourth step, and then you're not really kind of thinking about what you were doing before. So it is really, really important to have that network of people around you to assist you going forward. And even when you have made that transition, it's still important to have those same people around you. In terms of, you obviously mentioned you reached out for help, which is great, and you got that help from the PFA and family and friends and things like that. In terms of your kind of transferable skills, because obviously you mentioned before that you're looking to start a kind of a business, a company where you're looking to assist those athletes, those footballers that kind of fallen away out of the academy system. So you've obviously got some skills behind you to allow you to obviously facilitate that. So what transferable skills do you think you've kind of taken from football into kind of what you're looking to pursue going forward?
So the practical skills of doing the sessions, then communication, making people feel good about themselves. Football's not the whole thing and be all and end all. There's other things out there. One person's opinion doesn't always count. You can go again. So I see myself as someone that can pick people up, make them feel good, make them think of things in a different way, different scenarios, put a spin on it, make them realize that they have got ability. But also, if you train your brain and your mind, then anything's possible.
Definitely. You mentioned some good things there. I mean, the last thing you mentioned about like training the brain. So a lot of us don't realize how important it is to kind of train your brain as well, because effectively it is a muscle. We tend to just concentrate on our physical, and obviously people want to go to the gym and do whatever, especially when you're playing football, whether it be kind of training on the pitch or in the gym. But especially when we were kind of playing, going back 20, 25 years, it was kind of, no one really spoke about the mental side of the game. And if you did, it kind of, I wouldn't say it got shut down, but it was kind of frowned upon to a certain degree. And that kind of ran parallel with the kind of the way that retirement was approached as a whole. And that's a kind of another thing that I want to discuss with you. Like in terms of retirement, I always remember when I was kind of playing, especially kind of quite early on, kind of 18, 19, 20. And you'd always see retirement as like either a long distance away, and also a bit of a negative approach towards it. It was always seen as something that was kind of okay, well, I don't really want to think about retirement. I want to just concentrate on what I'm doing. And also, if people came in from organisations, it was always seen as the approach that they took when they were speaking to us as like academy boys or senior players or whatever. I always saw it as a bit of a negative. It was never like, oh, you guys have been in this sport, you're working in a team, you've got these transferable skills which are suited to other careers, and people are looking to employ you. What are you going to do to help people? If they approached it like that, I think that would be taken in a more kind of receptive manner. But when they came in and they were kind of approaching us and just wider conversations, it was always a kind of thing of, what are you going to do after you're playing football? Like, it's approaching soon, and it's like, it's just a negative spin on it. So what do you think about kind of the retirement and how it should be approached? Do you think it should be approached in a different way?
I think it should be approached in maybe one-to-one, and because when people are in big groups, some people don't want to speak up, some people don't want to say how they feel about certain things. So maybe if you've got a PFA rep or someone comes in, can they strike up a relationship building up to that conversation? Because you can't just not see someone for 2 years and come in and then expect them to start talking and telling them how you feel. So in the beginning, whoever it is needs to be a constant figure within and around that group. Then you might be more obliged to say some things or say your feelings, how you feel. Retirement's coming up, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, or can you help me, or something like that. But if you don't see the person for 2 years, you're not going to really open up.
Definitely, that's massive. And I'm glad you touched on kind of the relationship side of it, and seeing people in the physical on a regular basis, because it builds that trust and credibility going forward. Like you said, if someone comes in, they have a conversation for half an hour, it's like, okay, well, you've given me that information, but I don't really trust you. I don't know where you're going with it. I don't know your motives. I don't know what narrative you're trying to push. They come in on a regular basis and they just treat you and speak to you on a certain level. It allows you to understand where that person's coming from, give you a bit of kind of background from their perspective. Have they played the game? If so, great. More credibility again. If they haven't, and they're just kind of from a different kind of industry, then fine. But at the end of the day, if you see these people on a regular basis, like you said, it builds that relationship, and before you know it, these players will start opening up, and without even being asked. And then there's that trust element. And then once they start opening up, then avenues will open up in your head from a relationship perspective to see, okay, well, this person is more aligned to this type of industry, whether it be inside a sport or not. So massive kind of situation that could be utilized going forward. I know it's difficult. I mean, I remember the PFA coming in maybe once or twice a year at the start of the season and probably towards the end. And I don't know if anything's changed. I've been out of the game for too long to know really. But for me, if they've got reps who are there at the moment, they could be regionalized in different parts of the country, and then they could have maybe 6 or 7 clubs that they focus on throughout the year. And if they haven't got the numbers for it, then I'm sure there's people like yourself or kind of others that maybe transition or maybe retired a long time ago from football or whatever it may be, who would be willing to do that. So it's interesting. And again, I think they do a great job, these organisations, but there's always going to be room for improvement, as we all know.
Yeah.
In
100%.
terms of yourself, kind of, obviously you had a great career. You played for some top clubs. We mentioned Arsenal, Brentford earlier. And you obviously played for a whole host of other ones as well. Do you miss playing at all?
No, I don't miss playing. I miss being in and around the changing room, having a laugh, and then training. That routine, I miss the routine. You know, nothing can beat the match day. Nothing for me. The buzz of playing and that, but yeah, I just miss the changing room banter and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can't replicate that anywhere. It doesn't matter what you do. It's just one of those things where you try and explain it to someone who's not involved in the game. And as you know, some of the things, especially back in the day, could get away with so
Yeah.
much. And when you tell your friends who are outside of the game, it's like they don't understand or don't believe it. It's just crazy world. It's again hard to explain, can't replicate it. Me personally, I don't miss playing at all. But I know some people really do. And again, some people just miss the elements of like the dressing room and the banter and stuff like that. Talk to me about Arsenal. I think that's where you started your career. I think you made an appearance in the first team and stuff like that. So how was that? Obviously, you were playing in an area where there was some top players. So talk me through kind of parts of Arsenal.
I was at Arsenal from the age of about 13. Worked my way through the academy system, the schoolboy system as it was back then. And reason why I chose Arsenal at that time was because they had a host of players. They always brought players through the system. They always brought players through the system, and it was an unbelievable club, unbelievable. To actually go through the system and make an appearance, you know, it's a kid's dream. It's a kid's dream. I was gutted to leave, but I had made an appearance. Yes, I could have done more when you look back at it, but to play for Arsenal is great.
Massive. And talk me through like the competition, because obviously you were a striker. So talk me through that era. Who was up against, or who were you up against?
So coming through, when I was in the youth team, you had like Ian Wright, Kevin Campbell, Alan Smith, Paul Merson, Chris Kawamia, John Hartson. And then when I turned pro and they brought in Nicholas Anelka, and then we were the same age. And then watching Nicholas, and I just remember thinking to myself, "Whoa, he's on another level." He was on another level. So, Arsene Wenger was right at the time. I got sold and he kept Nicholas.
Ridiculous. So you've reeled off about like 8 or 9 players there who were top players, and then right at the end you mentioned kind of Anelka. We all know what a talent he was. Absolutely ridiculous. So to make that appearance and obviously just to be in and around the first team, obviously, congratulations. That must have been massive.
Yeah, it was, because you work so hard to go through. And I had gone on loan and I didn't think I was going to make the appearance. So while I was on loan, everyone was playing in the League Cup. So all the young boys were playing in the League Cup. So I thought I've missed my chance. I'm not going to play. And then to get the call, I think it was Boxing Day or around just after Christmas, after my loan had finished on the 28th, to be called into the squad to play against Tottenham in a North London derby.
Wow.
It's a dream. And the thing was, at the time, I lived maybe 2 miles away from White Hart Lane, a mile.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. Like I said, congratulations for that. In terms of, similar to me, kind of, I made a few appearances and then kind of dropped down the leagues and stuff like that. And it sounds a bit ironic, but that's where my career started to take off to a certain degree, because I was playing proper men's like first team football. So for you, similar thing, you kind of dropped down the leagues. How did you find it dropping down the leagues? And I'm talking about the level of like the standard of play on the pitch, the facilities and things like that. And I'm talking, we're going back 15, 20, 25 years now.
Players, there's some ability in the lower leagues. Don't get it because they're in certain leagues or whatever. There's ability. There's players there. Just to be given, they needed a chance. But the facilities now are unbelievable. Everywhere, the clubs I go to, and I see their academy system or the academy pitches. Wow. before back then I think we were getting changed at the ground, jumping in our cars, putting towels down so we don't get mud all over our cars, driving to somewhere, training, putting nets up, after training, taking nets down, full of mud, driving back to the ground, having a shower, and then having some lunch, or going down to the corner shop where they sell sandwiches and grab a sandwich.
It's crazy. And again, so all of those things that you're saying there, I've actually done. And I've done all of that whilst being a pro. So from the outside looking in, people are like, oh, you're a pro footballer. And it's like, yeah, but you don't realize, like, it's not easy. And it's certainly not as easy as your friends would have thought, or people outside of the game. So all of those things, again, it's changed now. We used to have to do jobs and everything as like apprentices and things. They don't do that anymore. Not even in the lower leagues, I believe. So again, it was tough for me from a perspective of on the field. So when I went to Bournemouth, I left Leicester, and then I went to Bournemouth. As you know, we were both kind of there for a few days, and then we went our separate ways from then. And I was there for probably 2.5 seasons there or thereabouts, and it was tough initially because when I joined, although we dropping down a couple of leagues, a lot of the players who were my age and younger, they had already played 50, 60 games in the first team. And I'm talking about against big men. So back in the day, like League One, League Two isn't like it is now. And it was more so difficult for players like myself. I'm small, so it was difficult. And I remember coming up against like players who were my height and stuff, and they were just a lot stronger. Luckily for me, I was really fast. So from that perspective, I could kind of handle my own on the pitch. But it was just a massive learning curve. And then the facilities as well, although Bournemouth was a top club and it always has been, even then the facilities weren't like they are now. So that was quite difficult. And again, there's many other players who have kind of been through the same thing with experience exactly the same. So it was just tough times really from that perspective, but a great learning curve. And I had to leave Leicester because I just wanted to play first team football. I'd had a taste of it. New manager it comes in, as you know, and it just they've got their own ideas and players they want to bring in. So I didn't want to play reserves anymore. I just wanted to play first team football. And again, you would have been the same. So it's just one of those things.
It was. So when I went on loan to Colchester, it was my first taste of men's football, and I remember played at home at Layer Road, the old ground, and we played against Exeter. I think we were 1 down or something like that, and I've tried to go through and I got a clip and I went down in the box, and I remember Noel Blake, massive, 6'6", built just as wide, grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and picked me up and said, "Listen here, get up, you little whatever." And then I just thought, "Whoa, this is real. It means something now." So it was. That's what you need to do when boys now. I think some boys are happy just to stay in the 23s, play under 23 football. You've got to get out and go and play on loan and play properly. Yeah,
it's not real football. So under 23s is basically, I don't even know how to compare it. I mean, would you compare it to reserve league back in the day, like the Pontins League or whatever?
No.
It's not even that, is it? It's because there's no competition there. So I remember when I was playing reserves and it was like, okay, so when you play, I remember playing against Arsenal a couple of times and other clubs, and it would always be a case of, okay, sprinkling of youngsters coming through, but then the players who are in, like the senior players who are coming back from injury or maybe not in favour, they would play as well. So it was always like, okay, let me pick my wits against this person or that person. And I remember playing against Nelson Vivas, who was an Argentinian international right back. And I remember that season was the season I made my debut. And that was like one of my first handful of games in the reserves. And it was Arsenal at home. And I thought, I need to play well here because there was a couple of players that were at Arsenal, Reece Weston and Lee Cannibal, who I was at the national school with. And I was thinking, I need to play well just to kind of show them that I can play still. Do you know what I mean? So I put on a performance. I remember nutmegging Nelson Vivas and everyone was just going crazy. And then after that, I just kicked on from there. So that was a massive catalyst. Now, if I was playing against kind of just an under 23 squad of kind of no ones. There's just no competition there. And nowadays it's different because you're hearing players of 23, 24 making their debut in the first team. And it's not like they've been on loan and made appearances elsewhere. And I'm thinking, back in the day, if you hadn't made an appearance by the time you're 18, 19, it's time to either go on loan or leave or one of or both. So it's just a completely different ball game. So yeah, it's tough times, but again, really enjoyable. Going forward, then, so we've obviously spoke about your transition, and obviously you said you got help from here, there, and everywhere, which is really good. Do you think more help's needed? And I'm talking from a generic perspective, not just football, but kind of all sports. Do you think more help's needed when it comes to athlete retirement and transitioning?
Yeah, all the help's needed, and start giving the information earlier. Get people thinking about, while you're not playing, can you go and do a course on your day off or whatever? There's courses that you can do at home now. Start thinking, so the transition of retiring becomes smaller and a bit easier. So yeah, people need, it needs, there's a lot of help out there, but we still need more.
Definitely. And when I say help, it's not just calling on the organisations for help either, because that would be the easiest thing to do. I'm talking about from a parent perspective, because sometimes a lot of these parents are kind of maybe failed athletes and they're trying to live their dream through their son or their daughter, and they're pushing them as well. And it's like, ease off a little bit. And also from the athlete's perspective as well, because it's not just about playing football. Yeah, when I was playing, I was fully motivated, concentrating on football and wanting to improve myself, but I always knew that there was going to be life after football. And I always had a set of friends who I'd been friends with for years, who were nowhere near the game. They were just friends who I'd known from years from growing up. And then I had my football friends. Now that's a massive thing, because a lot of athletes, they just have their core friends as people who are like either footballers or tennis players, whatever their chosen sport is. It's a dangerous game, because when it comes to, like I said, like you said at the start, retirement, the phone stops ringing. So if your friends, your core friends are just those athletes and they're still in the game, the phone's potentially not going to ring. And then what happens after that? So it's about having a well-rounded approach. And it's easy to say because obviously I've done it and you've done it. But my train of thought was always like that when I was playing. So again, massive. And like I said, thanks for coming on and a really great insight there. Obviously, hope things go well going forward. Just let everyone know kind of where we can find you on the socials, and obviously just touch on what you're planning on doing going forward, just so we can look out for you in the
future. Isaiah Rankin on Facebook, I.Rankin on Instagram, and I'm just planning on, I just want to help players, parents, kids in academies, players that have been released from academies, to help them either get back into the game or help them with how they're thinking and feeling. And there's life after football, really.
Massive. And that sounds like a great initiative. So I'll be looking out, I'll be keeping an eye out for that. But yeah, like I said, really appreciate you coming on. Hopefully keep in touch going forward. And then yeah, I'll be looking out for big things to come from you in the future.
No, thanks for having me, Dan.
No problem at all. See you soon. Speak soon.
Yes. Speak to you soon. Bye.